What do you think the best story?
For my personal,
Yeah.
it would be about my great-grandfather. Because he was a businessman in Axtell. He's in all the records. He sold implements with the man on the book.
Uh-huh.
He set up his sons in business. They didn't prosper, but he set them up.
Set him up. He was prosperous, obviously.
Yes, he was. He's in all the records at Axtell. He helped start the church out in the country, and then he moved into town and he started the church. Now, the big thing I just found out was, over the years, up in his attic in the barn, he had a lot of Civil War articles.
Uh-huh.
So I never knew it, but my cousin told me recently. So he says, "Why don't you see where they went?" And I said, "Oh, yes. It's up to me." So I called the museum in Minden, Nebraska.
Right.
They found things that were given by my great aunt, but nothing as far as Civil War.
Right.
So where they went. And like I told my cousin, I said, "Why didn't you grab something?" He said, my dad and mom would kill me.
Sure. I mean,
So-
and it has a different meaning in a
yes.
different era,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And
But he said I would go open the trunk and look at it and just be amazed because he was, just a kid at that time, but he was like 8 years older than I am, so it meant more to him, and I don't think I was ever allowed to go up in the barn
right.
that I remember.
Whole
I
stack.
just want to briefly show you this. My father, in what year was that, or does it tell? 1930, I was just a baby, had goiter surgery in Omaha at Emmanuel Hospital. He had a goiter that had wrapped around his windpipe. He was in that hospital for like 6 weeks. And this is what it cost. That isn't for the whole 6 weeks, I'm sure, but can you imagine? That just, I just couldn't throw that away. Not that it's important, but
$62.
yeah. You can't even look at the hospital.
No, you cannot.
So I've always saved that. I just thought it was interesting to me, anyhow.
Well, actually, you know what? I think it's interesting if you flip this around to think about how much money $62 is
Oh,
in
yes.
1930.
Oh, I know. Oh, and let me tell you, my father had already been sick for a long time. I was born, and then at this particular time, my mother was pregnant with twins.
And he had goiter surgery.
And he had goiter surgery.
And then he's not working because he's sick.
And they told him that he may never work again. His mother's mother had died in the late 1920s. Her father died in like 1932. Her mother had already been dead a number of years. And my other grandma died before I was born. So all this for my mother. But let me tell you, she was a strong lady.
You have to be, or it just makes you strong to
Yes.
to deal with it.
Yes. I don't know if you're familiar with Bethany Mission in Axtell.
I've heard of it, but I haven't.
Well, it's called Mosaic now.
Right.
Yeah, against my wishes. But anyhow, my mother has a history at Bethany as a cook, and then later on as a baker. And in between those two jobs, she made parachutes at Kearney Air Base. So she had an interesting life too.